greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. In world history, many myths have terrified us throughout time. Monsters that haunted us around fires in the plains or outside caves, all the way up to the present. These myths were meant to instill fear within us, to warn of impending doom beyond the safety of the light, past the flickering flames. How could we expect these monsters to be real? After all, aren't they just stories? What if I told you they were mere shadows of the true creatures that stalked the night, lurking deep within the mist of the world's darkness? Creatures like the Nosferatu vampire, which stole time and drained victims of their life force. Perhaps these stories are versions of actual individuals who engaged in vampirism of a different sort, stalking victims at night, drugging them, and leading them to their homes, where they would rob and sometimes make themselves at home. By keeping their victims drugged and under their so-called spell, they could indefinitely sustain themselves, living off the victim's dazed and trance-like states, under some unknown master's influence. Even the victim's decline into sickness and poor health could be explained as such. Why would a vampire continue to feed and care for a thrall they ultimately want to kill or let die? Once finished, they would move on to another victim, often unaware of what had happened to them, and perhaps never escaping. What if someone did escape? Explaining their experience would be difficult, much like how some human traffickers operate today worldwide. These survivors would seldom be believed or understood, leaving them to try to dissuade others from falling prey to these creatures of the night by sharing their stories around fires. Instead of garlic or coriander, and instead of literal blood drinking, the true horror involved the consumption of life force and vitality. What about the idea of fairies, masters of illusions, disappearances, powders, and leading children and adults into another world? These could be people capable of poisoning victims with powders that erase or alter memories, substances with strong deliriant effects, enabling them to not only deceive but also steal away children or valuables. They could infiltrate homes, take what they wanted, and vanish unnoticed. A powerful enough dose might make individuals feel they are flying, see a world full of magic, only to wake up with their stories so warped they seem almost intangible. Flying fairies are not just myth. They are a subset of individuals with inherited knowledge passed down through generations, about the use of plants and seeds to influence minds, whether to hoodwink, rob, or commit other crimes. Using such powders, they could operate safely, hiding their movements and actions beneath the guise of mythological creatures. Creatures like Baba Yaga have stories that we are told to believe. An old woman skilled in creating powders and potions that turn her victims into unwilling participants in their own demise. These tales, though varying across different cultures, all show similar patterns. Beings who manipulate and harm, often from vastly different parts of the world, yet affecting their victims in eerily similar ways. There are also the Oni or Tengu from Japanese folklore, mountain creatures linked to nature, who keep to themselves and sometimes spirit away those caught in their territory. Their ability to fly and create terrifying worlds for their victims, often through poisoning with plant matter, can lead to delirium and death. Disappearances associated with these mythologies frequently involve some form of enslavement or exploitation, whether sexual or otherwise. Across the ocean, stories tell of Madre Monte, or the Mother of the Mountain, a woman who steals children or adults, using the white milk from her breasts to keep her victims under her control. This myth likely stems from nature-based symbolism, involving plants and substances that influence the mind. The milk of the mother of the forest can be seen as a metaphor for processed plant substances that induce delirium, causing confusion, magical illusions, or a sense that time has stopped or ceased to exist. Victims often come back with confusion, experiencing extraordinary feats triggered by those substances, with memory lapses and signs of delirium. These knowledge systems are probably passed down within families or societies, with deeply embedded illicit activities for survival. Some may be called witches, individuals who study and understand the power of plants and natural forces, often with malicious intent. The idea that witches flew on broomsticks with devil's trumpets attached is a misconception. True magic, in its highest form, is spiritual and involves higher consciousness and connection with the universe, not poisoning or harming others. In my opinion, the Salem witch trials and similar stories stem from fear and misunderstanding. Accusations fueled by paranoia, delusions, and the desire for control. Such events involve stories of delirium, mind erasure, coercion, and corruption, which warrant further examination to uncover their deeper truths. Another similar figure is the duende, often associated with male spirits who commit acts of theft, sexual assault and infiltration, along with causing hallucinations and delirium among their victims. Like witches, duendes are connected to the manipulation of the human mind through natural means, substances derived from plants and powders, under the guise of magic. These entities, whether male or female, serve as representations of how certain individuals or forces prey on human vulnerability, using natural knowledge and deception. Examining these stories reveals that many of these myths serve as reflections of the tactics employed by sociopathic and narcissistic individuals, those who have little regard for the well-being of others, and seek to control, enslave, or exploit them. The monsters we feared around fires weren't just figments of imagination. They may have been incarnations of real dangers, humans and beings lurking in the shadows of the wilderness and society, cloaked in myth to conceal their true nature. The human psyche, ever alert to threats, created these monstrous figures as a means of expressing and transmitting society's collective fears. These stories provided a shared understanding of hazards that supposedly lurked just beyond the firelight, reinforcing boundaries between the known and the unknown, the safe and the dangerous.